All right. I want to welcome everyone to today's session. My name's Adam Kurtz, and this is Silvon's Stratum Insight webinar sessions. And we will talk about Stratum 7.5 today. We're going to look at some of the features that are available in 7.5. We do have 7.6, which is out as well. And we'll be talking about that in the next Insight session. So we'll be doing a preview of that. So this is more of an overview, because 7.5 has been out for a while. So what did 7.5 do for us? It basically provided a Stratum Glossary. We'll talk more in detail about these things. Attribute filters and sorts, what we call Stratum KPI functions, drill down by measure, a bit of a viewer facelift, and some other miscellaneous things that we'll talk about. So just looking at the Stratum Data Hub, again, we always look at this every time because it's basically the Stratum application overview in a snapshot. And as you can see, the application is right there in the middle where we have ways of getting Stratum or data into Stratum and data out. And today we'll be talking about mostly about things on the web-based analysis side of things, because that's where the upgrade, that's where you're going to see most of the at least for this upgrade, where most of that occurred was within the actual web-based interface. So we'll talk about that mostly today. We'll start off with the glossary. So what is the glossary? Oh, well, essentially it provides additional information about your Stratum data model. So it's a way to kind of document your Stratum data model. You can have certain users apply terms to your dimensions, your measures, explain what they mean, what they are, maybe where they're sourced from, what tables from your ERP. There's a lot of information you can put in there. It's free form text, so you have a lot of room to describe things, right? So this is basically a big glossary to define your terms within Stratum for your users. Typically, this is an administrative feature or function. So you'll have your view administrators set this up, and then you can again access your Stratum views to get information about that view and what's in it. Okay. The Stratum Glossary can also be accessed in the top panel menu, where you can actually go in and look at the glossary for the entire Stratum data model. It looks like this, where you can turn it on and off. So if you don't care to see the informational bubbles that pop up for each object within your view, you can certainly just toggle that off. As a matter of fact, you can control the default of that at the application level. And here's what it would look like, where a user would click in this case, on the budget amount frozen column, where it would then tell you what that budget amount frozen means. As we can see, it's a frozen budget that was approved by the business. We can see other things about it, that it's a corporate measure. Is it planning enabled? Yes. So certain users can actually go in and change those things. So you have that ability to click in on all the objects here and to basically define, look at the definition of what that level would be. What is the definition of sales? How is that bucketed? How is that invoiced? Is it from the invoice header and detail of the ERP? How is that data getting sourced? All kinds of information that you can put in there so the users can kind of get that, and if they have any questions about the data model, they can find the answers themselves. Here we can click on product, a specific product, and we can see the product SKU, and then we also get to see all the attributes for the product in one screen, where we can scroll through that. Another way to look at all the attributes for a given product. This is a snapshot of what it would look like to come into the glossary from the admin menu. So we can see in the upper right-hand corner of the interface, we can enter the glossary as an admin, and we can then manage the application at a top level. Here we can see a definition of our environment, what we've called it. And again, you can redefine this and put information in about your environment and what you would call it. You also have a glossary index where you can go and look up if there's a specific measure or a dimension that you want to add more information to. You can very quickly go and do a search on that and find what you're looking for very quickly. So that's the glossary, and we'll take another look at that in the demo. And then we also have the attribute filter. So there's a way to easily filter on attributes for your levels. Um, you can filter on customer descriptions that contain certain text fields or strings. You can filter on a attribute that might be a numeric attribute where you can do a numeric filter on that or sort. So this is definitely an enhancement. Here we can see just a snapshot of what a view would look like with some attributes in it for product. And we can see that we can supply a filter now at these levels for these columns, like directly into the column filter. As we can see, there's filters defined for the long description with anything that contains the word cherry or cherries. We also have a filter here for the classification attribute that's equal to A. And then we are also filter anything greater than a current list price of $100. And we can see those filters if we hover over those. And so essentially, you couldn't do this before 7.5. You had to build some calculations that, and it got a bit complex if you got down that rabbit hole a bit. So this is a big enhancement and will really help your users find what they're looking for based on attribute data. Here we can also see filtering on an attribute. We can see anything greater than 100 and how that was built. Pretty simple. And you'll see some of this in the demo, of course, and how we can change that filter if we wanted to. You can also do a properties on that attribute column, and you can change the data type from text to numeric. So you might have numeric data like the list price would definitely be a numerical column where you can designate that column as numeric. So it behaves like a number instead of a string of text. And you can do this globally, so the administrator can go in, view administrators can go in and designate these at a global level so that users don't have to screw out, go in and define that at a view level. They could, even though they can override it, but they would have to know where to go and where to change that. So if you set them up by default, that would work better. And then on the sorting side of things, again, it would then sort the data. I think that's just a duplicate slide there, but you can also sort the data in numeric fashion or in alphabetical fashion as well. Numerically speaking, it didn't work well in prior to this version, only because it thought it was a text column. You know what I'm saying? So now that you can designate it as a numerical column, it works as it should. So that's the sorting and filtering on attributes, and we'll take a quick look at that in the demo. On to KPI enhancements. What is that? Well, it's a fancy term for ways to change your measures into averages or max or mins or medians without having to jump through fiery hoops to set up a calculation that would do that. Averaging would be a big bonus here. If you want to see an average of your sales for given time periods, this is a very easy way to do that. Here we can come in, and I have a view here actually that's set up to look at the actual data itself. This is the sales data. We can see that there's a min amount for that time range of January through September. The minimum monthly amount was 114 million. It's a lot. Wow, these are big demo numbers. The maximum for a given month was 195 mil. The average for the months of January through September was 138 mil. And then we also have a wonderful little calculation that's new called count, where you can put in this case, number of products sold by customer. We can see that for customer Wilder Foods, they're purchasing around 3,088 unique products from us. So those are new, and I'm going to show you how to set those up. It's actually quite simple to set that up and to get some of that displayed in your views. And these are the KPIs. Other things that you can do in the new version 7.5 is the drill down by measure. So for each column of data, for each measure column of data, you can designate a drill down view, and you can take the user to another view that might give them more information that's related to that measure. And I'll show you an example of that. And then we updated the look of some of the pop-up windows so that they just, obviously look more modern. We do now have support for Windows and SQL Server 22. There was a relationship filter enhancement and also unique executable name enhancement. So basically, the executables that you can download to install the software now have their own unique names, whereas before they were just setup.exe, which didn't really help programmers or admins. Okay, so also upgrading, if you're going to upgrade, you do have to be up to version 7.2 first. So if you're not, certainly you can go ahead and do that and get that upgraded to 7.2 and then do a full process and then go ahead and step up to 7.5. If you want us to do it, we can do it for you as a service. And it's pretty simple. It wouldn't take a lot of time. So give us a shout. Again, depending on how much data you have or how long the process takes for it to process, will dictate how much time we would need to do it for you. So you can contact me. We can discuss details and get an SOW to you. So if you want us to do it, we can certainly do that. If you're on managed services, it's part of your service to get upgraded. So you could, again, contact me and I can get the ball rolling on that for you. That is my name and my email address and my phone number, which really nobody uses phone numbers anymore. Contact me, surprise me, call me, email me. And if you have any questions or concerns or things that you want to look at and discuss, I'm your guy. Okay, so on to the demo of 7.5, and we're just going to kick off a view here, and we're going to turn on the glossary. So as you can see, my glossary is not activated. And so in order to get that activated, we can see a little more info button here over to the upper right-hand side of the view. If I just toggle that on, we can then see all the informational bubbles for each object within my view as it stands. So I can click on, for instance, actual sales, and I can click on that informational bubble, and it will tell me that it reflects the value of sales bucketed by the invoice date. Typically, this measure includes return information, so it's sales net of returns. Cool. So that answers my question. I didn't know if returns were considered within the sales or not. So this is really, you can also, tell them whether it's gross or net sales. Obviously, you might have the measure name might tell them that, but that's another discussion to have. Calculations. So if you want to see what the calculation is, as you can see, it kind of explains what it does as the calculation. It takes the difference of the rolling this year's sales minus rolling last year's sales, and then it divides it by the rolling last year's sales. So this is what I'm talking about. Instead of users clicking in on this calculation, which is not going to give them that in English terms, right? It's just going to give them the syntax of the calculation, which may or may not answer their question. depending on how savvy they are with the product. So that's where the glossary kicks in, where you can then have the answers out there for them already. And then also for the levels, we can see that, for instance, for product brand, I can click on the level. Product brand is a way to group products or items with similar characteristics. It's derived from the item master file in the ERP. And you can give them more details if you want to. You can give them perhaps the field and the table name of the ERP that it's derived from. So they feel more confident about, the data and where it's coming from. If I go into one of my brands or specific product brands itself, like Tip Top, for instance, I can click in on Tip Top. Again, it's going to give me that same definition for product brand, and then it also is going to break out Tip Top, tell me who the brand manager is, what the email address is for the resource, et cetera, phone numbers, anything else that you might have available as an attribute for that level. If I change this to product, for instance, I can drag and drop product over here. If I look at a specific product, it's going to give me a lot more attribute information, right? So if I click in on a specific SKU, it then tells me, all the different attributes of the SKU. So, I know a lot of you have quite a bit of attributes for your items, specifically you publishing folks out there. I know that you're just swimming in some of that. So this is a great way to get that up and eyeball that, if you're looking for a specific data point. That's a very quick way to do that. All right, we can also add in, so that's your glossary, right? And another way to get to it is up here in the upper right-hand corner. I can go straight into the Stratum Glossary at a global level. It will then show me the glossary in all of its glory. I can go into the glossary index. Maybe there's something that for actual sales that I'm looking for. And I can then click in on the measure and I can put in a description for the actual sales category. So you can, and these are all the measures for actual sales. For instance, actual sales units has already got a definition in it. If I want to change it, I can click in on the little pencil, and as you can see, it's freeform text. I can type in whatever I want. There's a lot of room here, as you can see. So, you can have at it. Don't write a book, but certainly you have enough information to make it meaningful. So finding things here with the actual sales name in it, easy to do. Maybe there's a level I'm looking for, like product brand or customer for that matter. It then gives me my product brand level. Again, already defined by yours truly. And that was done on May of last year. So it's nice, you've got not only who did the not only a good definition here, but you know who's maintaining it, right? So you can go get them in trouble if it's wrong. Of course, you're not going to do that, but you do know who did it, so you can tell them, hey, you might want to change something if there is maybe something that needs to be addressed or updated. Okay, that is the glossary. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And now I'm going to add in some attributes. We talked about sorting and filtering on attributes. So let's bring some in for the product level. I'm going to bring in my list price. Go ahead and bring that in. So there it is. And we know that I told you that you can set up your attributes at a global level. So here, attribute, I'm going to check the properties for this attribute. And as you can see, it's already set to number, which is great. It's exactly what I wanted. And that's because it's been set up at a global level. I can override it to text if I wanted to, but I certainly don't want to do that knowing that it's been set up as a number and obviously the data looks numeric. So what does that mean? Well, that means I can right click it and I can sort on it in descending fashion and it will actually sort properly. I mean, we could play a little game here if I wanted to change that to text and see how that affects my sort. And as you can see, it's wrong. And this is what the versions pre 7.5 would do. Right. So this is basically how that addresses the um, the ability to change that to a numeric field. And now the actual sort behaves properly as a numeric field. I can also slap in a filter if I wanted to. Maybe I only want to see um, something that's greater than 100 in terms of list price. And so now I've got both a sort and a filter on my attribute column. So again, this concept didn't really exist before, where you can actually do things right on the attribute column itself. Like I said, you had to put input some funky calculations to in order to get this stuff to work properly, and it just took more time. Took more time, took more knowledge. This is very intuitive. You can go in, do it without any programmatic experience, and get some of this pare down, get the filters and the sorts you need from based on the attributes of your products. And again, you can do this at any level. You can change this to customer, and you can sort on customers' zip codes, or you can filter on. Oh, and another thing we didn't do here. Let's kind of clear some of this out. Um, and we can obviously do a filter here too, which is kind of cool. So now I only want something that contains uh, peach, right? So now we're actually doing a filter on the description itself. So here we can see that here's all of our peach products. It's the filter that we did on the actual description column itself. Notice how the filter icon is illuminated up here, which means I can go into it and I can see that indeed there is a filter going on at the peach level. So cool stuff there, right? So we're able to actually filter now based on keywords of the description too. All right, so let's clear that out. So that's sorting and filtering on attributes. Um, and then for you admins out there, you can go in and manage things, and you can go to your dimensions. Here, it's up at a global level. For instance, product would be something that you could set up on some of those attributes, like list price. Current list price is set up as a number, right? So here's where you can designate those attributes as either numeric or text globally, and then you would just save that away. So that when users come in, they bring in those attributes, they're already designated as needed. Another cool concept that we have now is this ability to drill from a measure to another view. If you notice, I've got a couple columns here that are illuminated, allow me to drill to another view. For instance, let me sort this data in descending fashion. This is my year-to-date column, so I can see Farm Fresh coming in, 85 mil. Let's click on that and see where it takes us. It takes us to another view, and it shows us how that 85 million is spread out through the months. And now I can click on the months, and it will take me to my weeks and my days, etc. Isn't that slick? Let's take another look at that. If I go back to the view, right? I can't really see the monthly amounts here, right, because I'm using a time range. So it would be cumbersome for me to check all the months. Double click on this. I can check on January, or I can add in more columns. But why do that when I can take the user to another view that would serve that purpose? For instance, first choice, 55 mil. Let's see how that spreads out through my months. And we can see the seasonality of the actual data of that 55 sum amount, right? Not only that, it throws in last year's data so I can get a feel for what last year data looks like. Notice how it throws in the brand filter, so it only shows me the brand that I click on. Prime grown, 20 million. That's how it's spread across for the year 2024. Cool stuff. So that's, and then over here on my sales amount for my current month, this is just showing me my current month sales. If I click in on that that particular view or that column, it then shows me my open order amounts. So for instance, this I might be in the middle of the month and I'm comparing it to last year's actual sales amount. I'm already beating last year's sales amount, but I can see I'm down here quite a few. Well, what's open? What can I get out this month? And that's why I'm taking the user to an open order view. So it'll filter on that product brand. It'll show them what's open by customer. Maybe they can then push some of these orders out and get that number up. So being able to drill from these measures to different views tells the user different stories. In this case, what my monthly trend looks like for these numbers. And then over here, what is my open order story based on these numbers? And some of that would need to be looked into because we're not hitting last year's number for that current month. All right. So those are at least for some of these product brands. Right. So, and then the adding in a product count, for instance, I can also do that for maybe I want to put in my rows here. Um, and then I can add in a calculation for product count. If I add in a calculated measure, I go into my Stratum viewer functions. I can see the count function that's available now. And I'll tell it what the product hierarchy that I want to use. And then I'll also tell it to base it on what measure should I base it on. And I'll use year to date for that. On the format, it's just going to be a numerical number. So I'm just going to give it a format of just a number. And we'll put in SKU count as my measure name. And there it is. So now I know what the SKU count is for Wilder Foods. They're purchasing 63 unique SKUs from me, and so on and so forth. I can actually sort this so that I can find out who's purchasing the most unique SKUs. If I then drill that to product, I should see 63 products for Wilder Foods. And indeed I do. It says 64 up there, but that includes my grand total row there at the bottom. Isn't that slick? So now you can actually show all the products that your customer is purchasing from you. Or you can do it on any level, base it on any measure, as you see. So you can do a customer count, and you can show that at division or company level, or levels that make sense to show some of that data. All right, and that's your count measure or the calculation. Right. So again, don't forget to explore some of these viewer functions. We go over some of these in some of our calculation classes. So look for those in some of the upcoming sessions.